and the global cycle. We have been like high beta risk asset for 25, 30 years. It's changing now. So in late 90s, we played exactly the same thing. Like lots of companies were changing their name to the technologies because you know that if you change the name, stock will go up 3x.
Valuation, yeah.
And every company wanted to project itself as like something to do with the technology because that was the trade. So when Nasdaq fell, we rose like that and we fell like that. So our correlation, if you look at to Nasdaq on a day-to-day basis, was like very high. February 2000, when they peaked, we also fell. We fell as much. The next cycle we played exactly the same, which was the global infra, global commodity cycle. People have forgotten like, which was the first $1 trillion company in the history of the world. It's not Amazon, it's not Apple, it's not Nvidia, it's not Microsoft, PetroChina in 2007.
Yeah.
So, and at our end also, it was infrastructure, capital goods, engineering, construction, real estate, power, whatever, all of those. So when that fell globally, the emerging markets and all that, we fell even more sharply. So it was like, we kept saying, no, we don't have any subprime crisis. Why should India go down when the 2008 happened? We don't have that much leverage, etc. Why should India go down? And India has decoupled. I said, no, I mean, we are playing the same cycle and we fell exactly. This time is very interesting. We are not playing that cycle. I have not met any corporate in India, few sitting here, who comes and in 1 hour meeting talks for 20 minutes, what am I doing on AI? मैं तो अभी तो मिला नहीं हूँ सुनी किसी से. Because we are not presenting the same thing. Whole world is presenting that कि एक ही trade है AI. मेरे को इंडिया में ऐसा कोई नहीं मिल रहा है कि सर मैं AI पे मेरा business build कर रहा हूँ अभी तक तो. तो क्या हो सकता है? There's a possibility that we actually become a good hedge. That if you buy everything which is AI and the momentum is so amazing that it's like going a few $100 billion every day. But the hedge is actually India because let's say that trade reverses, India actually is very different. And maybe it's like the adopters because everything will become so cheap, the computing power will become so cheap and all the LLMs, etc. And just like HDFC Bank did in late 90s, early 2000, we were the biggest beneficiary of the internet boom. So somebody invested there in the whole internet thing, but we were the biggest beneficiary of that by adopting and using the technology very, very efficiently. There could be variety of traditional businesses which use that very effectively. So this time it could be like very different for India than it has happened in every previous cycle.
So as you rightly said, that AI might have a big impact on the world, but the very fact that AI is artificial intelligence, so real to really रहेगा ना भाई. So,
But the humanity is not hasn't seen something like this. So we had agriculture revolution was like big. I mean, we understood like how to grow our food, how to kind of like feed ourselves differently. And for thousands of years, kind of like that had an impact. The next one was industrial revolution, where suddenly we found that instead of doing things from hand, the machines can do it. So motor and steam engine and all of that kind of changed us in a huge fashion. It gave us so agriculture gave a lot of time for us to adapt to that. In reality, there would have been few societies which like kind of were different over a period of time. The industrial revolution, maybe the 2 centuries. So even like after 70, 80 years of telephone came into being, in 80s, I mean, telephone was like a rare thing in India. मेरे घर पे in Rajasthan, in Byawar, like late 80s, early 90s, पूरी गली में एक phone था. तो सबके घर के नंबर पे PP नंबर हमारे घर का नंबर था. I'm talking about like in my lifetime, just like 30, 35 years back. वहाँ से like, so it's still like, in that industrial revolution. The information revolution, computers, still let's say 10 years back, till the time the government pushed कि बहुत सब GST का return तो online भरना पड़ेगा, whatever, we moved to that. Like still it took time. This is intelligence revolution, and this is like very exponential. Human brain thinks in a linear fashion, and this is exponential change. If machine process like the human intelligence, we have no idea because we cannot fathom what will really happen. I mean, we have seen like Nvidia 5 trillion and Intel like government of US bailing out. Intel was the one in 2000, I think 6 or 7. Steve Jobs said that boss, I'm working on something new, which is smartphone. He said, I don't want to waste my time because there is how many people have computers? There is so much of growth for next 20, 30, 40 years. I don't want to waste my time on something new. Rest is like history. So this time, this is so exponential that we really don't know. I think it's reaching what a 90% humanity can do with your human brain. So best doctors, best physicians, physicists, best mathematicians, best like 90% the machine will reach. Then what it really does is unfathomable, absolutely. So you can't even like think, because this is intelligence revolution. But one thing that will happen is, my strong view is that anything, this is replacing human brain, unlike the industrial revolution, which kind of like augmented human hands. So the things that are done by hand and done by mind will become insanely more valuable. Things which are done by sheer like brain will become less and less valuable. In last 70, 80 years, it's the things which are done by brain have become more and more valuable, but things done by hand and mind are like less valuable. But anybody who does hand, a physiotherapist, somebody who makes you laugh, makes you cry, any of those counselors, concert economy will go up maybe 10, 20, 30x from here, because the more people are on machine, they would like to hear somebody, the best music. They will probably do better than Mozart, AI, because they knew that one note out of hundreds of notes, he made a mistake, the AI will correct it. But still people will have more urge to listen in person, and things done by like hands, which is like anything, robots won't be able to replace everything.
So I
Sorry,
think
longer. Actually, you have stalwart sitting here, and
yeah.
I'm taking so much time, so maybe.
Yeah. So you rightly hit the disease. There was a time when jute was the cheapest fiber available possible. There used to be cotton, and then they polished the rest of the thing. And it was assumed that, oh, jute is the most cheapest of the cheapest possible fiber. And polyester was given a rate. Over a period of time, what happens? The cheapest possible is a all technofiber, and the most expensive fiber today is a jute because it's a premium. In the same line of thinking, you rightly said that original versus artificial, or artificial versus original. This fight will go on. So
मैं
to,
जब छोटा था ना, तो ready-made shirt was like an aspiration because we used to get it stitched at home. Then अभी उल्टा है, like, right? I mean, you want to wear ready-made, you want to get stitched from someone, and this will go to the next level, like एकदम. So machines will make everything cheaper and more accessible and mass level, but उल्टा हो जाए मेरे को लगता है, like somebody getting cotton from the Devrat tree, खाली 5,000 शर्ट ही बनते हैं साल के, that will be like in crazy amount of premium. People would like to buy that.
that's clearly says kachi gani oil is more expensive than a refined oil today. Right? That clearly says even when you
This
say
is just beginning.
it's a big thing. So that means we are going back to the move of originality. Now, moving away from a situation, it's always said that you have to remain. There was a time when companies were rewarded to being an asset light. And now companies are being said that you have to create asset because you have to manufacturing self-sustain. How to come out of the dilemma of when to create asset and when to remain asset light? Because someone is going to hold your investment and then make returns based on asset, or someone is going to make return based on the asset to increase value of the asset. How do you come out of the dilemma?
But maybe it's a cycle. So let's say corporate India as a whole. So we started investing a lot from 2004, 5, 6. The cycle was good. Economy growing at 8%. Credit was growing at like more than double the rate, 16, 18, 20%. Global economy was booming. Things were like doing very well. We had a big crash in 2008, but the recovery was super fast. Within few months, everything looked like coming back to normal because of the stimulus given by US, China. In India, we did extraordinary fiscal and monetary stimulus that gave more confidence to the corporate to invest. And then like came from 2011, 12, 13, like perfect storm. वो एक मर्फी का लॉ होता है, everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and everything that could go wrong like kind of went wrong. So we had like challenge on the macro side, both external balance sheet, fiscal balance, current account, our inflation, rupee, fiscal side, everything that had to get tightened later. We had the judicial overreach. Then we had to go to like kind of like correct that. We had regulatory overreach, and that's why a lot of sectors were in trouble. So you get, and then banks had like the NPA problem, so you have to like correct that. So बैंक बोले मेरे को lend ही नहीं करना है corporate को, and corporates को boss मेरे को asset light ही करना है. Equity value आपकी इतनी कम हो गई है in the EV. So then there is a psyche. So then over a period of time, and nobody wants to listen to. In 2006, 7, you met anybody. I mean, if let's say there was a those UMPP licenses, if one company got it, regardless of the price, stock goes up 20%. The other three power producers, the stock goes down 4%. Nobody bothered about the cash flows, return on capital employed, etc., because market wanted that. Then we went to like other extreme where for last couple of years it's all about like margins, free cash flow, ROE, ROC, and all. But structurally, I mean, you pay 30, 40, 50 times, 25 times, whatever for the growth, right? You have to invest at some stage. It cannot be purely like I mean, there would be few businesses, but in general, for corporate India as a whole, at some stage, like we have to invest in future, and I think probably we are getting very close to that. Maybe. We did several things right from 14 say leke many of those reforms that had to be done, of course, that impacted growth in the near term. If you are doing a RERA and changing many things, it impacted certain businesses. If you are doing GST, it's impacting certain set of businesses. Everything that we did to correct that, it impacted set of businesses. Then 19 was like a big bet that if we reduce the corporate tax rate to 25%, corporates will invest. A lot of other things have already been done and things are better. Unfortunately, COVID happened in the next year. And then again, like, how can I invest? 21, when you thought like things would be better, the second wave was lethal than the first wave. 22, the minute you thought that abhi aayega ekdam wapas a cycle, and then the Russia-Ukraine happened in February, March, and then oil went up, your inflation went up, US inflation at 10%, Fed is tightening from zero, you are going to like 5% US rates, and how do you like think of that, right? India also we had to tighten. So it's been unfortunate that every year you thought that now we have done everything and they should invest. The good part was that government did the heavy lifting. So they took the capex from 3,30,000 to like almost 11 lakh crores, like almost tripled in 4-5 years. So did the heavy lifting. Otherwise, the economy would have slowed down more. Thinking that you kickstart and private sector will follow. That didn't happen, and maybe then care consumption nahi hai. Abhi now okay, we have done the GST cut, we have done the personal income tax cut, RBI has cut the rates, releasing a lot of liquidity, creating environment, and globally, as I said, that look at the investment cycle globally, and my view this is structural in nature because of the forces which cannot be explained by macro, but there are like larger themes at play, whether it's climate change, whether it's AI, whether it's defense, whether it's supply chain diversification because of the trade war going on everywhere. So because of that, ultimately यहाँ हो जाएगा. So I'm maybe more optimistic that maybe we are getting very, very close to that, and it has to, the narrative has to change, that companies have to say that we will invest in future and we feel optimistic. I just hope that this whole festival